Ladies and gentlemen, ladies and gentlemen, ladies and gentlemen, this is long overdue. This is long overdue. This is long overdue. Welcome, 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 welcome. I hope you guys are not cursing me for filth, even though you shouldn't be, because the reason why I'm here now is because this is long overdue. As I said, this is long overdue. I was sharing with you guys my weight loss journey, right? I was sharing with you guys my weight loss journey. I've been very, very adamant about keeping you guys abreast, but I noticed that instead of going and watching the footage and seeing what happened and seeing what's going on, you guys would rather hit me up to talk about it. And I'm like, it's so many people that hit me up about my journey that I wouldn't have time in my life to get to everybody. So what I did was I recorded some footage to talk about, hey, this is what I did. This is what works for me. This is the way I went about it. You let me know what you want to do, right? So the beauty of that is I did all of that. I let you guys know everything I did. And folks were still hitting me up like, hey, what did you do? And I got a little confused because I'm like, what part didn't you see? Because I shared every step of the way of my body sculpting journey, but I only shared in that video part one. So first off, let me thank you guys. Let me thank you guys from the bottom of my heart, because I told y'all, and I was not playing. I said I was not dropping part two of this journey until the part one got up to 500 views, because I realized that you guys want the information, but you also want it spoon fed to y'all. Listen, ain't nobody got time to be on the phone for 2 and 3 hours talking about the same thing over and over and over and over again. If I just put something out there, then you guys can all get it in one whop and we can move on from there, right? So thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you to all my people that was interested in what I did on my journey. And thank you for actually tuning into the video and watching it so you guys can know what I do. Right? But welcome to part two of the When They See the New DJ Watch a Dope Boys Go Crazy body sculpting journey. Let me just say, as I shared in my last video, I decided to share about my journey because a lot of people, inquired about it, and B, because I feel like my journey was very life-changing. I feel like it was very life-saving, and I feel like if I could change a life in a positive way or save a life, then I'm more than open to doing so. So I said, well, let me be honest and let me be open about what it is that I did, because it really, 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 really helped me, and if it can help somebody else, then so be it, right? So I'm actually going to look up the name. I'm sorry, I should have did this before I got online, of what it is that I did, so you guys can have a clear name of where you're going, even though everybody, when you get there, you'll know what to do. It's just a matter of making sure I have all the deets and so on and so forth. So this is how it is part two. If you're interested in part one because you missed what I shared initially, please go on my YouTube channel, which you're here now, Operation Heal 100 Hearts, and go down to the video that says all these surgeries and I'm still fat, right? Because that was just my way of like trying to, reel the folks in. I'm not going to lie, it was a little bit of clickbait. But the reality of the situation is it has some truth to it, because I still have a lot of work to do. I still have a lot of work to do. And that's emotional and mental work aside from the physical work, right? Because I'm doing a physical aspect of it. So I just have to make sure that my mental capacity is straight and my social and emotional capacity is straight to be able to maintain the physical work that I'm doing, right? So let's start from part A. Part A was the first initial video. I'm going to drop down in the comments. I left all of the information for that video there. You guys can check it out. It's called All These Surgeries and I'm Still Fat Part 1. You see a picture of me. I'm standing in front of a mirror, and you can see that you can tell I have some bandages on me, so I've had a procedure, right? So that was the story of my vertical sleeve gastrectomy, right? That was my VSG. I love my new mic, so sorry, y'all. I'm speaking into it. But that was my VSG journey, right? Which I love. But now we're getting into part two of my body sculpting journey, which is my panniculectomy. Right? So let me just give some pointers and some FYIs and PSAs. And if this works for you guys, perfect. If not, I truly understand. So what happened was, here I am, I want to say 4 years post-op. my surgery. So this had to be around maybe 2019, right? And I was still checking in every now and again with Dr. Schwack. That was my NYU VSG surgeon. I left all his information in the other video, in the comments. Dr. Bradley Schwack from NYU, shout out to him because I love him. But anywho, I left all the information for him in the other video. I would check in with him, I want to say maybe once a year, just to say, hey, I'm still on track. I lost another blah pounds, yada, 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 right? So what began to happen was maybe around the 4th year, because what I will say to you guys is that my weight loss journey wasn't rapid like everybody else. I know some folks who within 4 months of their VSG, they lost 100 pounds. No, it took me over a year to lose 100 pounds. My journey was slower because there was some hiccups that I had in a row, which was solely on my part. It wasn't about the surgery. It was some things that I needed to do that I didn't follow suit with and played myself. So it made things a little bit more slower for me and made the plateaus a little bit more longer and so on and so forth. But I did get to the 100 weight loss mark, and God is so good. But anyway, when you're losing that much weight so rapidly, as opposed to it being like, oh my God, I look great, I feel great, I'm the bomb. Your skin becomes loose because it's used to being a certain size. And because while you're losing the weight, for me, I wasn't doing much toning and much exercising. So when I'm starting to lose the weight, I'm losing it, but I'm losing it so rapidly that my body is like, hey, you, what's going on? What's taking place here? So the weight is coming off, but the excess skin that would constrict the weight is now just hanging there like, hey girl, how you doing? Right? So I had that. I actually still have it in my arm and leg area, but the main part that I had it that bothered me was my abdominal area. So I had what everyone calls a FUPA, right? I'm pretty sure you guys know what a FUPA is. It's the fat upper, I don't want to say the P word, I'll say punani area. So it's the fat upper punani area, meaning that right above your vagina, there's some hanging skin that covers the vagina. So if somebody is looking at you naked, they can't see your vagina straight through. They can see your stomach, and if you lift that up, they can see your vagina. I kind of liken it to, if you've seen Norbit, and on Norbit, they say, hey, you can't get on that ride. They tell Rasputia, you can't get on that ride without panties on. And she lift up her stomach and say, I got panties on. That's pretty much what I'm talking about, that area that she lifted up. So I had that. I'm actually going to drop some pictures so you guys can see. I had that hanging skin area. So what ended up happening is around 2020, when the pandemic happened, I started working out profusely during the pandemic because I was home. I was driving myself crazy that I wasn't working, so I needed something to do. So I started working out, which, shout out to the pandemic. That is one of the blessings that I got out of it. Even though it was a tumultuous time, I got down to my lowest weight, which was 175 pounds. And not only was it 175, it was 175 toned. So that made me feel really, really super duper good. But I would notice that my FUPA, no matter what abdominal exercises that I did, it wouldn't go anywhere. It would not go anywhere. So that irked me because I'm like, I'm working hard. Like, I'm doing crunches. I'm doing sit-ups. I'm doing leg lifts. I'm doing everything. I'm cutting this out my diet. I'm really, really busting my behind to make sure that I get rid of that little area. So what ended up happening is I went to see Dr. Schwack because a lot of people had talked to me about a revision. They were saying that you can go back and get your sleeve revised. Now, for me personally, I don't need my sleeve revised because I still can't eat a lot. So it's not like, my stomach has grown back to its original size. And no, I still can't eat a lot. So I didn't need my sleeve revised, but I wanted some tips and some pointers from Dr. Schwack about what he thought about the revision and also what I could do about this whole area, right? So when he and I talked, he said to me, he said, well, Khadijah, that area right there can't be toned because that is not fat. Right? He said, so normally when you work out, you're toning your fat, you're toning your muscles, so on and so forth. He said that area is not fat. What that area is skin. He said, and it's excess skin from you being overweight and now losing the weight so rapidly. So I'm like, I don't like that stupid part. Like, I didn't appreciate that, basically I felt like what he was telling me was that everything I was doing was null and void because nothing would happen with that, right? So I'm not gonna lie, I began to focus a lot on that excess skin only because it irked me. I was like, come on, this is not gonna work, right? So what ended up happening is, because I was working out so much, this is what I imagined because it was the first I had experienced that during the pandemic. I was literally walking. I was getting up in the morning at 6 a.m., working out for an hour, getting on work online on a Zoom and so on and so forth. And when work was done, I was walking 20,000 steps. I was walking from where I live to the Brooklyn Bridge, over the Brooklyn Bridge to Manhattan, back over the Brooklyn Bridge to Brooklyn, and then walking back home. So I was getting anywhere from about 17,000 to 20,000 steps per day because I was doing this at least 6 days a week. Not to mention I was working out an hour strength training before I left. So I was really dedicated. And there was a lot. I was sweating profusely, of course. And I think that once I started the whole sweating piece, it began to irritate that excess skin. And what ended up happening is I started to get rashes underneath that area. Now, initially when that happens, your first thought is, oh, I got to keep that area dry. So you put powder, you make sure you dry that up, you make sure you get it in formation, so on and so forth. But it started to, to a certain extent, give an infection, and that made me nervous. I'm always afraid of infections. I'm always petrified because I feel like an infection starts so small and then it gradually progresses into something and you're like, what the hell just happened, right? So I got really, really nervous because one time it got really, really bad. No matter how dry I tried to keep it. So I remember going in to see Dr. Schwack, and he talked to me about that being a result of having that excess skin. So I'm like, oh, Lord, what am I going to do? I can't deal with this, yada, 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 right? So he said, I know a doctor that might be able to assist you with getting that excess skin removed, but it has to get treated first. And if no treatment works, then he may consider assisting you, but first you have to go through the process of thoroughly treating it. So I'm like, okay, no problem. He gave me the information for the doctor. The doctor name is Dr. Ernest Chiu. Again, I'm going to drop down in the comments section and in the description box, and leave you guys the information for Dr. Ernest Chiu. When I tell you guys, along with Dr. Bradley Schwack, I also fell in love with another NYU doctor, Dr. Ernest Chiu. Dr. Ernest Chiu is phenomenal in the work that he does for NYU. All righty, he is phenomenal. There's nothing bad I could say about him. As a matter of fact, I'm going to try to pull up some information for Dr. Chiu so you guys can, I can give you the thorough name and you know what I'm saying. So anyway, Dr. Chiu was phenomenal. So again, Dr. Schwack, he referred me to Dr. Chiu, right? So he said, okay, go have some conversation with Dr. Chiu and let him see what's going on. So what Dr. Chiu did do was he looked at my situation and he saw you do have an infection. You do have an infection and it looks like it was stuck. It was in one area, but it's starting to spread. So Dr. Chiu went through many months of many measures to try to contain that infection. But because of my constant working out and a constant sweating in that area and the excess skin, it was recurring, right? And it became an issue for me. So I said, Dr. Chiu, what am I going to do? Because I'm very afraid of having this infection and I need to move forward with my life. I got weight loss surgery to change my life, to better my lifespan, to really live out my full life capacity and not let it be cut short because of health issues with being obese, right? And this infection was a result of my weight loss surgery, and not because my weight loss surgery was a bad thing, but because I lost weight so fast that excess skin began to hang and I needed help. And I broke down crying to him and we talked about it. And he said, I'm going to continue to treat it for you, which was a couple of more months. But in that time, if I cannot treat it to a point where it stops all the way, then if I cannot cure it for you, that's basically what he said. He said, I can continue to treat it until it's cured. But if I cannot cure it, then we will embark on another journey. So I said, okay, no problem, right? So again, I'm still exercising. I'm still doing what I got to do. Working out, yada, 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 right? So finally, I went back to Dr. Chiu. I think this might have been I know it was over 6 months that we had been doing the treatments and things of that nature to try to fix it. Not to mention, I was doing my own treatments at home, things I got from my other like primary care physicians, just trying to make sure I put everything in place so that I can be good. But none of these things seem to work. None of them seem to work. Even to a point, I remember I was wearing like some bandage under to kind of soak up any sweat because I was sweating a lot from working out, right? So finally, I went to Dr. Chiu. He called in some other doctors and they kind of did some observations, and he came back to me and he said, would you consider having a surgical procedure to remove that? And I said, hold on, you guys. I'm sorry. I have to tell Pookie, turn his audio down. He said to me, would you consider having a surgical procedure? And I said, well, let me know what that entails. And we sat down and we talked about how this excess skin, it can really, 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 really be an issue for me moving forward if the infections continue. And he said, I just want to know, because at this moment, the excess skin is not, I'm sorry, you guys, is not life-threatening, but if the infections persist, I don't know if it can be, and I want to make sure to try to stop it, but I can't stop it if that hanging skin is still there and it continues to come back and persist and things of that nature, right? So I said, Dr. Chiu, I trust you. I appreciate all the work that you've done with me, so I would consider it. Just let me know what it looks like. So he gave me the name of my surgical procedure. It was called the Excision Skin Abdominal InfraUmbilical Panniculectomy. Okay, I'm going to say that again. It's called an Excision Skin Abdominal InfraUmbilical Panniculectomy, right? And what he did say to me was, he said, listen, my dear, this is not a cosmetic surgery, so we're not going to tighten your glutes and suck in your stomach and poke out your butt. And no, it has nothing to do with that. The only thing that we're going to do is we're going to remove that excess hanging skin so those infections could stop and you can be safe and move on with your life, right? So at first I was a little apprehensive. I was a little afraid because I'm like, I already had a surgical procedure. I don't have any children, so I don't want to continue having surgical procedures, but I really, 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 really need for these infections to go away, because I repeat, I am not going to wait until it's too late, right? So he said, okay, let's see what we can do. So we sat down, we went over the procedure. He explained to me, I shared with my insurance, this is what I've been doing to treat this. This is what the doctor said next steps is. My insurance said, I think that this is what you need. Again, we want to make sure that your life is not at risk. We are willing to pay a portion of it, right? God is so good. My insurance paid the majority of my surgery, and I probably came out of pocket about maybe $300. My surgery date was scheduled for August 5th, 2021, right? And like I said in my last video, and I'll say again to you guys, folks, I was definitely looking into, I had 3 steps that I wanted to take, right? As far as my body sculpting. I wanted to get weight loss surgery. I wanted to get tummy tuck, and I wanted to get BBL, right? But a lot of folks was telling me that tummy tuck and BBL could go hand in hand, right? And I was saying, when I went to do some research on the BBL, they were saying, no, that's not a good idea to get them both at the same time. You might want to consider getting one and then getting the other some months apart, right? Which would be tummy tuck first, BBL second, right? And of course, that's cosmetic surgery. That's just because I want to be cute and look good. And what they were explaining to me in regards to the tummy tuck, because again, it would be a 2-way procedure. So I was trying to kind of exit out and say, okay, well, I could work out and still get the BBL. But when I went to do a consultation for the BBL, one of the young ladies at Goals, shout out to Goals, they have one right here in Brooklyn I went to, and she said that I think you're a prime candidate for a BBL. She said, but the only thing is, you wouldn't be totally and completely happy, because even after liposuction and they tighten certain areas and you get a big butt, you would still be a plus size woman with a big butt and a FUPA. And in my mind, that was not a part of my body sculpting journey. I didn't want to be a plus size woman with a big butt and a FUPA. I don't mind being a plus size woman. I don't mind having a big butt. I just didn't want the FUPA. And what she was explaining to me is that lipo wouldn't take care of the FUPA. I would have to get a tummy tuck. And they don't advise that you get a tummy tuck and a BBL at the same time. So it would be tummy tuck first and then BBL later. But I would be paying for both procedures, which is at least $6,000, $7,000, $8,000, which is about maybe $15,000 altogether or more. Right? With the panniculectomy is not a cosmetic surgery, so you do not get any lipo. You just get that excess skin removed. But it made more sense to allow my insurance to cover my panniculectomy, and I come out my pocket $300 and they cut the FUPA area out. And then when I go to get the BBL, they'll do the lipo on all the other targeted areas that the panniculectomy didn't take care of, and they'll give me the big old butt. So I said, you know what, God? I prayed about it. Again, I don't have any children. I have not had any other major surgical procedures outside of VSG and panniculectomy. So before I got the panniculectomy, one thing about me, and I told y'all this in my last video, I prayed about it. I said, God, I went and I did my BBL consultation, and for whatever reason, instead of this young lady at Gold's being greedy and just trying to get my money and telling me, oh yeah, girl, do it, she was honest with me and told me what I needed to hear. And then you presented the opportunity where I could get this FUPA cut out for a lesser price. It would be safe and it would more help what I was growing through. So, excuse me. So, I said, God, you put this in front of me because I believe you believe it's for me. I'm going to pray about it and move forward. So my boyfriend's birthday is August 2nd. We went out. We celebrated. I had a dinner for him. August 5th, I was admitted into the hospital. I never forget me and my boyfriend sitting there because I had to get naked. They had the marker up my body. And my boyfriend is sitting there and he's like, are you afraid? Are you okay? And I'm like, I'm okay. I'm fine, because the one thing that I do know, and the one thing that I'm clear on, and the one thing that I said to y'all in my last video, and I'm going to stand tall, 10 toes down on that, is that what is for me is what is for me. And all I have to do is be me to receive it. So I don't get scared and I don't get nervous when God present me with opportunities, because if it's not for me, he will block it. And if it is for me, he will bless it. And with that panniculectomy journey, he really blessed it for me. I went in August 5th. I had the procedure. I had to stay overnight. The very next day, they showed me what to do with the drains and all of that. And they kindly told me I was free to go home. And I went home. So what you go home with is you go home with drains on each side. Now, again, I'm in a panniculectomy group, and I see that other states do things differently. I see sometimes the drains come from different places. I don't know. In NYU with Dr. Chiu, the drains came from both sides, right? So they both was on the sides, right? It's a tube taped. It's a tube inside of you, and it's taped on you, and then it's a pump at the end of the tubes. So what happens is when you go home, you have to constantly, because things are constantly draining out them tubes, you have to constantly clean the tubes. They gave me and my boyfriend a whole tutorial about how to clean the tubes and the drains. We learned, and my boyfriend cleaned my tubes and my drains every night for me. And what we had to do is they give you documentation, so you take measurements on how much came out, because it's numbers on the tube to let you know how much you drained and so on and so forth, right? So we did that. The first week I was home, of course, you're bedridden, your stomach is bondaged up. You have to buy all your garments to make sure your stomach stay bondaged up. Was I in pain? I won't necessarily say it was pain. It was just discomfort, because remember, I got the two drains on the side, so I could only either sleep on my back or on my stomach, and I definitely couldn't sleep on my stomach, so I had to sleep on my back and be very careful because of the drains. Also, with showering, it kind of makes it kind of hard because of the drains. So what we would do is my boyfriend would come in the bathroom and hold the drains up so I could kind of wash myself up, or I will hold the drains up. Preferably, I like to hold the drains up because I can tell if it's pulling or tugging, and he will wash me up. But I would be able to shower and things of that nature. After the first 7 days, I had another doctor's appointment with Dr. Chiu. If I drained enough, he would take out one tube, because remember, the draining is taking down the swelling. And he would take out one tube, and then I would come back another 7 days later, and if I drained enough, he would take out the other tubes, right? What Dr. Chiu did make me aware of is that swelling can take a long time to go down. That's why I'm kind of happy, even up to more than a year. That's why I'm kind of happy that the video hit the 500 views when it did, because I'm finally in a place where most of my swelling is down. To be honest, about 80% of my swelling is down. And I'll show you guys pics of it on this video. About 80% of my swelling is down, and I am now almost 15 months post-op. It does take a long time for the swelling to go down, but what I do tell folks is it will go down faster if you follow doctor's orders. Okay, so I'm going to be honest, I don't feel like I follow doctor's orders all the way to a T, because I feel like once it got like, come on, move. Once it got like my 4th month post-op and I wasn't in any pain at all, you know, I started to kind of let up on wearing the bandages and the fajas and all of that to keep things going down and moving forward. So that's why it took me a little longer. But in any event, finally, I can say I'm very, very proud of the way it went down. Now, let's talk about the cut. The cut is from one hip to the next hip. Dr. Chiu was very afraid because he said women with darker skin tend to keloid. I did not keloid at all. My scar is flat, okay? There's no darkness around the area. I didn't get any infection because, again, I followed doctor's orders at that time and did everything I needed to do. I had a pineapple tea that I would drink. They said drink a lot of pineapple juice. That helps with swelling. I kept on my garments for the first, I think, maybe month. What else did I do to kind of keep things flattened out? Because I wanted to make sure, and you know, I was active as much as I could be. That area, if I'm being honest with you, even being 15 months post-op, is still numb. And not numb to a point where I don't feel anything, but if I feel something very lightly, so like case in point, if I get waxed, I don't feel the same sensation that I used to feel before. So it's not as much pain when they get up to that area to wax me, because it's still numb to a certain degree. Like I said, coming home, was I in pain? Did I need medicine? No, not necessarily. That's one of the things I love about NYU. They take care of you, because even when I woke up, I made a YouTube video when I woke up less than 24 hours after my surgery, because I was not in that much pain. It was discomfort, but not much pain. They take good care of you at NYU. I refer NYU to anybody. They take excellent care of you. So to say I was in pain, or I was in discomfort, and you know, not being able to sleep the way that I want. Every now and again you get like like case in point, when it got to one of the drains coming out and I only had one left in, that one kind of really irritated me, because I was just over drains at that point as a whole, and I think my skin was starting to kind of grow over the tube, so it was making it like a little weird. But once I went in, they pulled the drain out, I was good, and I was able to maneuver from there. So like I said, I'm going on the 5th of November. We'll make 15 months post-op, and I am not completely, let me be honest, yes I am. I am completely FUPA flat. What it is that I gained some weight after the surgery, so I need to work out and get that down, and I also need some lipo. Dr. Chiu was very clear, very honest with me. He said there is some target areas that panniculectomy has nothing to do with, because panniculectomy is not a cosmetic surgery. You would need some lipo to get them areas tightened. And again, like I said, that's a part of part 3 of the body sculpting journey. The lipo, the BBL, the so on and so forth, which I will share with you guys when that time comes. But I wanted to give you guys part 2 because I promised it. I'm so happy that you guys made the commitment to get me to 500 plus views, because I told y'all, and I'm not gonna lie, I was being stubborn and adamant about it. I was not dropping part 2 until I got 500 plus, because I felt like folks are always calling me and asking me about this journey. And it's a lot of time out of my day and my schedule to keep reiterating the same information over and over again, when I can just put it on the platform. And if you need some of it, you can just go look at that platform. So that was the reason why I did this. Let me also say something. I know a lot of times folks pass judgment on people who have cosmetic surgery, or they also say, well, they feel like folks took the easy way out, and all of these things that people say. And I said this on my last video. You don't get to judge anybody else's journey. You get to walk your own. That's all you get to do in this life. You don't get to judge anybody else's journey. You get to walk your own and stay on your own path and focus on what you need to do. You know, my body sculpting journey is what makes me happy. You know, like I said, I was considering the BBL before I had the panniculectomy, but the honesty of the young lady at Goals, I got to remember what her name is, when she said, you're going to look gorgeous, you're going to have a big butt, but you're also going to have a FUPA, because of that area requires a tummy tuck. You know, these are things that I want to take care of because I want to look in the mirror and say, bitch, you look good. You look good. Not only do I want to look in the mirror and say that, I want to actually feel like that. You know what I'm saying? Like the other day, I bought just the corniest pajamas. I mean, it was from Rainbows. It wasn't even that deep. I don't even think I spent $20 on the pajamas. But what I did like is when I put the pajamas on, I can see how much my stomach had flattened and how much the FUPA was going. You know, and that amazed me. That amazed me because that's something that I've lived with for the majority of my life. You know, so it's a matter of, you know, you got to definitely do what makes you happy. Being able to look in the mirror and say that area is completely flat made me happy. It made me happy. So now I'm working on part 3 of what's going to make me happy. Tightening up them little loose areas like in my waist and, you know, that need tightening up and bursting out my big old ass. That's going to make me happy. I don't know what it's going to do for anybody else. I don't care what it's going to do for anybody else. That's not my business. What I care about is being happy and being confident in the choices that I make. So if you are on a journey, you know, whether that's about weight loss, whether that's about body sculpting, whether that's about education, whether that's about whatever it's about, make sure that whatever journey you're on makes you happy. You know, you don't want to do things because other people think they're okay. And you also do not want to do things because other folks don't think it's okay. You have to make decisions that's best for you. You have to make decisions that's best for you. And every decision that I've made on this body sculpting journey is what makes me happy. I don't have no horror stories about either one of my procedures. I don't have no beef with NYU. I don't got no smoke with Dr. Schwack or Dr. Chiu. I don't have no out-of-pocket expenses that I'm still struggling to pay right now. I don't have no pain where it's like, oh, ever since I did that, this wasn't right. Nah, it's up and it's stuck. I'm lit. You know, and that's what gives me the courage to continue on the journey because I feel like God placed that in my heart. Yeah, you did have a circumstance, but there's ways to make it better, Khadijah. You have to just fight to make it better. If that's what you want, that's what I want. So that is part 2 of When They See the New DJ, Watch the Dope Boys Go Crazy body sculpting journey. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm up in the ante. I'm on part 3 of the journey right now. Literally, I'm on part 3 of the journey right now. I anticipate being fully done with the journey, God's will, by June 2023. If you guys want to see part 3, and part 3 is going to be a little bit more invasive because with part 1 and 2, number 1, part 1, I didn't think to document it. And part 2, I only documented bits and pieces. Part 3, I'm documenting everything, post-op, pre-op, doctor visits, everything, before and afters, everything. So this is what I will tell you. If you would like for me to drop video number 3, which I should be able to do so by June 2023, if that's God's will, you have to let this video get 1,000 views. The last time I preached about 500 views, I got that in 90 days. To me, that was a little bit long. That was a little bit excessive, but I'm going to let y'all slide. What I'm telling y'all is, what is this? November, December, January, February, March, April, May. December, January, February, March, April, May, June. If in 7 months this video can't reach 1,000 views, then that lets me know that y'all don't want part 3 of the journey. Y'all don't want part 3 of the journey, which a lot of folks share their BBL. But I think this experience will really, really, really speak to folks who know where I'm coming from. Because it's different when you 110 pounds and all you got is a book bag for a butt. So it's like, hey, watch my journey. That's crazy. It's one thing to be almost 300 pounds and be able to come all the way full surface to who I want and destined to be. You know, so watching that journey would give anybody motivation. And if that's something you're interested in, you let your folks tell a friend and tell a friend and tell a friend. But again, I will not be dropping part 3 of this video until A, I have completed that part, and B, unless this has 1,000 views. So I think y'all can make it happen. In any event, Make sure to follow me, ladies and gentlemen, on all social media platforms. I am Operation Heal 100 Hearts. On social media, I am also Born Bossy. That's Born BORN _ BOSSYYY. That's 4 Y's. Make sure you follow me on TikTok. Make sure you get other folks to subscribe to my YouTube channel. Thank you guys for tuning in. I'm going to make sure that this journey does not go in vain. I'm going to make sure that I provide the platform for folks to know that, listen, how you start off does not determine how you finish. Stay in the fight. I love you guys. I appreciate you. It's up and it's stuck. Stay tuned.